Greetings, friends. It's Denise again, Denise's Dancing Paintbrush, and another collage. Now, this one I have been working on for 2 weeks. It's very large, so large that it doesn't all show up in my camera frame. Sorry about that. It is 5 ravens on a tree branch, and I just got inspired by some ravens that I saw. By the way, the difference between a crow and a raven is that a raven's bigger and has kind of, I was going to say fur, fur on his beak near the bridge of his nose, but actually I guess that's really fine feathers. And a crow does not have that, so that's the difference. Big deal. It would be for Edgar Allan Poe, I suppose, but for us, who cares? I mean, you can't tell that this is bigger than a crow unless a crow was sitting there next to him. I started by putting in a little bit of what I'm calling sky, and it's really just a very pale gray and tan, and then went straight into my tree branch. And I wanted it to look really rough and at the same time colorful. Am I an idiot? Yes. Yes. I added a lot of color on this tree branch because, let's face it, the ravens aren't going to have much color at all. But that's the charm of doing something that's challenging like this, is to, as long as the values are correct, just add color, color, color. And I do that a lot. I was told once that nobody can decorate around my pictures because I use too much color, but I'm not buying it. I still use a lot of color, and I don't have any trouble decorating around my work. Wow. Be that as it may, I use what I use because, hey, I'm the artist, I can do that. Now, I had to speed this up to 2,000 times bigger because this did take 2 weeks. I think I must have put something like 16 hours into it. And I even chopped out parts because it was redundant. You know, I'm just adding little pieces of colored bark all over the place. And you don't need to see all that. It would be terribly boring. On the shadowed side, I'm using a lot of purple and blue and a very dark brown. It's not really black, but it looks almost black. On the light side, I'm using a tan and an orange and almost a pale sky blue. It's just very subtle blue-gray. If you're a tree hugger like me, you'll have noticed that the water that has been treated with chlorine bleaches the trunks of our trees. I really hate that. You know, you're walking along, there's this beautiful golden tree, and down at the base it's all bleached, practically white. That cannot be good for the tree, or the soil, or the insects, or the birds, or the people. But then I'm a tree hugger, what can I say? Okay, as you can see, I jumped right on ahead, finished the tree branches, and went right into my ravens. I'm using a lot of black, but it doesn't matter to me if the black has text and, words on it. Because when you look at the overall picture, you don't really see the text. It sort of blends into a very dark gray. And that works for my ravens too. I'm also using a very dark midnight blue on the shiny side of the wings, and I find black things tend to reflect the color of the sky. A lot of blue, which I think is really cool. This one up here in the background at the upper right, upper left, excuse me, you can't even see me working on his head because it's just out of the picture frame. You won't see until the very end when I show the overall picture completed collage. Sorry, I just could not pull my camera away far enough. I saved the legs for last. They are basically a blue-gray. And I wanted the body of the birds to be just right before I even started fiddling with their feet. Cutting out all these feathers was really actually quite fun. Putting them in place, I end up putting them down and then picking them up and then gluing something over it because it was either a too light of blue or too dark of black, or it, I did a lot of this rearranging simply because I'd look at it and I'd think it was either too dark or too light or too off or too square, not round enough, not subtle enough. I do that with a lot of my work. I'll stand back and just look at it for a while. They say that that is the way to go with all artwork, that you find your errors by you looking at them with fresh eyes, going away and looking at them again the next morning, or turning around and looking at the overall picture with a mirror so that you're seeing the reverse of the image. And when you do, you see things you didn't see before. You catch things that looked okay before. You see, when I put it on, I thought that this variegated blue from the dark to the light in the upper part of this top bird here, it worked. But when I stood back, I thought, oh no, that's too light, and it doesn't work. So I had to go over it. I had to glue something over it with a darker blue. Now, the way I created my photo reference was to take a photo of a branch of a tree that I liked. I liked the way the bark looked. Then I took several photos that I had gotten from PixPro, from the free photo site. And I cut them out from the background and put them onto, individually, onto my image, the tree branch. I even had to cut out the heads and kind of tilt them so they looked at one another, so they tilted just right. Some of them I had to reverse because the light was coming from the wrong direction. And in the end, I think it works. So this is the fun part. I get to add highlights, and some of the highlights I think are too light, and then I added a transitional color that went from the light to the dark a little bit better. But this is just the touch-ups at the end, and also the feet. They've got to be on there. So here we are. We are finally there. Ta-da! Here are my birds, my ravens, with the highlights, the lowlights, the blues, their feet. And the bark of the tree. Tell me what you think. I'd love to hear comments, or read comments, I guess, in the comment section below, and do check out some of my links and see what else I do. I've got a lot of things going on. I also have a Patreon page for people who actually support my work so that I can create and pay the bills at the same time. Thanks everyone for watching thus far, and I'll see you next time. Bye!